for our guests and visitors. My name is Jim Farmer, Club President-elect, and I'd like to welcome you to what I believe to be the 15th meeting of the 49th year of the Dublin Worthington Rotary Club. Our invocation and pledge of allegiance will be offered by Al Wu.
Let's pray. Father, give us balance in times of distraction and uncertainty. Help us move forward towards our goals with determination and always with an abundant sense of humor. Thank you for food in a world where many know only hunger, for our faith in a world where many know only fear, and for friends in a world where many know only loneliness. Please bless this food we are about to share with those who prepared it. For all this, we give you thanks. Amen.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, today's Steve Perley will now introduce visiting Rotarians and guests. He will in a minute, as soon as he gets his list. While he's doing that, anybody with announcements, please come forward.
Time for me?
Yeah.
I think. Eric Farley?
So, yeah, I'll introduce him.
Okay.
This is my good friend Eric Farley. He is a retired scientist from Chemical Abstracts, and he is running for the Worthington School Board this fall. And the other people, well, the other person, Angie, is our speaker.
Yep.
So Trent will introduce her later.
All good. That concludes our guest announcements.
Okay, club announcements.
Hi, everybody. Does anybody here know what Tuesday is? Tuesday,
Polio Day.
October 24th, exactly, is World Polio Day. And we're having a pop-up pizza party with a few pints for World Polio Day. I'll send the details out here shortly at Pizza Cottage, which is in Lewis Center, just north of 750. 10% of the proceeds will be donated to Polio Plus. I'm thinking like 25 bucks a member or whatever you feel like contributing would be great, but 25 will get you to that 125 club. And I'm working to try to get Pizza Cottage to actually do the whole day of proceeds and the other 7 or 8 restaurants that they have. So more detail on that. So Tuesday, please come and have some pizza. Thank you.
Well, if Dick was here and if it was 2 weeks later, what time would it be? That's right, good. But it is. Yeah. What we will be doing though is starting the first week in November, you will receive an email, of course, the list to the purchase poinsettia. However, this year we're going to try something new, and I am looking for volunteers who will help with distributions for those members who sell a lot of poinsettia but cannot deliver them all. So if they can purchase more or get their compatriots to participate, and members can help them distribute larger numbers so they can expand their present list of persons they sell to. So we'll ask again later, and I'll have a sign up for anyone interested in delivering poinsettias to businesses to sign up to help assist with that. So we will be starting the poinsettia sale here soon, and we'll have a list on board so that during the month of November you can sell poinsettia.
Raise your hand if you've ever been thirsty. I've been thirsty, and we, as you're well aware, are doing a bourbon raffle. Let's see, where are we at? I think we've raised $450 so far. Yes, $8,450 so far. We have 43 days left. So if you have not bought your bourbon raffle tickets, please do so. For the rest of this month, we're really trying to promote through members to our network. So people that you know that are interested in bourbon, interested in giving back to good causes, please make sure you share it. Last week I showed how to share it on Facebook, but if you need a refresher, just go to our raffle page, come down to the little Facebook button here, and it will let you share it on social media. Perfect. My other announcement is that our Impact Club is meeting tonight at 5:30 p.m. at Getaway Brewing in historic Dublin. So if you want to come and bring a guest that might be interested in joining our Impact Club, please let me know or just show up. Thank you.
Several days ago, I was approached by the administrator of the Paul Harris Center. This is a center in Veracruz, Mexico, that was originally created by Rotary to deal with a rural, or rather, well, it used to be rural, now it's an urban poor neighborhood. As you know, several of us have been down there. We are attempting to develop a relationship there. Marissa approached us about the possibility of a project. She said that an optometrist who provides services to the poor through the center has suggested that we might want to develop a project dealing with the delivery of glasses at a no cost or very low cost to the poor rural community. Now, in order to do that, she suggested that perhaps if our club were interested, what we could do is to collect eyeglasses or eye frames that we could subsequently take down there. And then, of course, they would work with them to adjust them and to distribute them to the local community. I'm just bringing this up because I know that looking around my house, I found we had a couple spare glasses, and I'm sure you all do as well. I hope that maybe over the coming weeks, we'd be able to collect a substantial number and make this an important project, collaborative project between our club and the club down there. And I'll be coming back to you next week and the week subsequent to this with the same message. And thank you.
Might be close to poinsettia time, but we're right on October socks. So the box is back there and it doesn't look like there's any socks overflowing from the box. So bring in your socks next week because that's the last opportunity. And then we'll contribute those to somebody who doesn't have any socks. Any questions about October? Well, that's good because I'm a sergeant and I'm ready.
No, wait, I have another announcement.
Tomorrow, Saturday.
Since nobody else made it.
Yeah.
We have a food drive this Saturday, and Andrew Singholt asked me to bring a bunch of materials, yard signs, donation buckets, handouts. If you are a captain, those materials, or if you know what team you're on, they all have to go today. Also take some bourbon raffle handouts. Yeah, okay, that's it.
I'm not sure anybody actually thought they were the captain, so just make sure that you have the materials for Saturday, because otherwise you won't have them. And you, President-elect Farmer, you said you thought this was the so-and-so meeting of our 49th year, which of course is true. But I will remind you and others that 2 days ago was actually our 49th birthday. Chartered 10/16/1974. So next year will be 25 years times 2. Well, I'm your treasurer. I don't deal in big numbers.
I was gonna say.
You're a small number. And so, bring your suggestions to the board, for how you would like to celebrate our 50th year, as a Rotary Club. Now, what is today? That was 2 days ago. Today, today is no beer day. So you would expect me, as soon as I get somebody to carry the pot. Let's see, Jeff Apple ought to carry the pot because normally, he's not quite, that bearded. He stands closer. Oh, here's the pot. He stands closer to the razor than that usually, but that's a, Heather likes the beard, I think. Okay, so if you have any facial hair at all, that would be everybody in here except maybe some of the females who have plucked their eyebrows. But if you have any facial hair at all, just get your dollars out and put them in. This is also chocolate cupcake day. I'm not gonna fine you for chocolate. That's just too good. And or cupcakes as well. This is also the day in 1931 that Al Capone pleaded guilty to tax evasion. So if you've never evaded your taxes, bully for you. Pay $1 now because you've got them. If you if you ever did evade your taxes, don't raise your hands now. Just put in $2 because that's not right.
Question, evaded knowingly or unknowingly?
Evade or,
It's a 4-way test.
Well, evaded knowingly or unknowingly?
You're arguing with the sergeant, that's another $1. In 1867, the United States bought Alaska from Russia. So if you've ever been to Alaska, or you've sailed by it, or if you've ever had baked Alaska, or if you've ever read Moby Dick, which of course is a whale of a story, then pay $1. This was the day that in 1922 that the BBC was founded. It's also the day in 1952 for the first Mad magazine issue. So what, me worry? Now, in 1977, and this is for my chair over here, because he's the sports buff. In 1977, somebody hit 3 consecutive home runs during a World Series, which tied the record for Babe Ruth. I just heard it. Who is it?
Reggie Jackson,
And he's playing for,
New York Yankees,
and they beat the,
LA Dodgers.
and the score was,
No idea.
the rest of your table put in the column. 8-4 was the score. Pretty good, yeah, that's pretty daggone good, I can tell you that. All right, do we have any happy dollars?
Yes.
Good.
I want to give a huge thank you to Harry Bouquet Martin. He spent yesterday afternoon at my house looking over our books and will write a letter to the board saying that Jerry and I have not traveled on Rotary money. All
That he could find. Now, any other happy dollars? George.
Last August, I had my driver's license taken away. My urologist suggested I do that. And I did. And I didn't pass the test, they told me. So I couldn't drive for a year. And, yesterday I went into the Bureau of Motor Vehicles and said, what do I need to do to get my license back? And the guy put it through the machine and said, there's nothing wrong with your license. You can get it when your birthday is next year. I was shocked. I only drove 2 times in a year. So that's a big dollar for me. Are we all in danger now?
George only drove twice in the last year and I didn't even know he played golf.
It's not can I throw in another dollar just to ask a question?
Yes, of course, as long as you're not, arguing with the sergeant.
What's the correlation between urology and safe driving?
We're not allowed to say out loud in mixed company.
You're right.
Oh, I would like to. We're all thinking, but we're all trying to figure out the connection. Hearing that.
Scared and you know what, but what happens is when you get to be 60 and then 65 or 80 and 85.
There you go, right there. George, I'm working up. You can keep that. It's okay. I got a buck because I'm happy to report that Tabitha, my little girl, has passed the first half of her FEMA test, and we're going to Maryland in 2 weeks to try the second one out.
Very good, very good. I was tempted to ask John Butterfield to put in at least $3 because it's amazing the table that he's sitting at. Now, we have John who spent a good number of years, I don't know, 24 years working for the schools. We have the superintendent of schools, we have a board member sitting there and a prospective board member. I was going.
And the assistant superintendent.
Oh, and the assistant superintendent, which I didn't even know, I'm sorry.
Who's our speaker?
Who's our speaker and probably wants to get on and I'll get off.
I would think.
I'm really questioning the sanity of anybody that wants to run for the school board. And I can say that because my daughter was there. Yeah. I'll put in a couple of happy dollars because last Saturday during the game, I became and Mercy became great grandparents for the second time.
Oh.
Our speaker today will be introduced by the one and only Trent Bowers.
This is fast transition. There you go.
You saw George's here.
Hey, so I did get to introduce our speaker. Our speaker today is Angie Adrian. Angie is the Assistant Superintendent for Worthington Schools, in charge of academics. So she's been in that role for 7 years. When we think about what does her job encompass, it's everything in the academic realm. So elementary and secondary education, special education, gifted services, professional development for our teachers, really the meat of what we do as a public school district. So Angie's been in that role for 7 years. She was previous at our principal at Worthington Kilbourne High School. So she spent 6 years in that role, was a middle school principal in Buchanan schools, an assistant principal in Hilliard schools, and by trade, she was an art teacher. So that's a pretty cool fact. So what we're going to talk about today is what we call a portrait of a learner process. And a year ago, this time, Worthington Schools was on the ballot for a bond issue. And so that bond issue was to pay for a new Thomas Worthington High Schools and renovations to Worthington Kilbourne High Schools, so that we would serve the next generation, next couple generation of Worthington schools well. So if you drive down 161 in Worthington at any time, you see that construction is occurring right now. Those new physical spaces are happening in Worthington schools. This process that Angie's going to talk about is really to talk about as we build these new physical spaces, new Thomas Worthington, renovate Worthington Kilbourne High School, what do we want to happen within those schools? So the physical building goes in collaboration with this process about what we want to really see happen within our schools. So with that, Ms. Angie Adrian.
Thank you all for allowing me to be with you this afternoon. I appreciate the time. And hopefully, on most of your table, I didn't get this table, but you have some index cards, and a couple of pens. Hopefully you brought a pen of your own, but you have the index cards there. As I walk you through this process and share with you, I want you to keep in mind what you believe in the position that you sit in, or maybe the job or the work that you used to do or still do. What do you expect, or what do you think that our young people today should possess? What qualities, what characteristics should they have when they leave high school? What are some of the, again, just the characteristics, what do they want? So think about that, jot those down as we move through. I'm going to tell you more about the process, but I really want you to keep that in mind. And this is really hard to see, but when I put this PowerPoint together, one of the things I noticed is there's a picture of Trent and I, and it's hard to see, but we both have on the same colors. We didn't do that for this slide presentation. Those pictures were taken at different times, and then we walked in today with black and white and gray on. And so I was really worried about that, but I'm glad that you can't see it. It would have been better not to even point that out. But Trent just talked about connecting our master facility planning with Portrait of a Learner. So as we build these buildings, because of the bond issue that was passed, it was really important for us to kind of step back in the academic world and say, there is a state curriculum. The Ohio Department of Education offers a state curriculum and mandates a state curriculum. We, as a school district, utilize that state curriculum and then create teaching and learning practices in our classrooms that meet the needs of our students, aligned with the curriculum. But are we doing it right? Are there things that we should be looking at? And I think we have to do that every year. Like what have we done well? What do we need to really focus on? And so one of the things that we have asked ourselves, do we really have a 21st century deeper learning vision for every student? We believe we do. But is it the right one? Are there tweaks that we can be making to that? And so we have partnered with a company called Battelle for Kids. Battelle for Kids is a not-for-profit organization that works with schools in a process called Portrait of a Graduate. We've changed that phrase to Portrait of a Learner as we've worked with Battelle for Kids. Really for the reason in that we believe this makes more sense for all learners. If we call it Portrait of a Graduate, we felt like our pre-K-12 district would focus on, oh, this is something just for the high school, because graduation oftentimes is affiliated with just high school. Like we forget that our kindergartners are going to graduate someday too, as our preschool students are. So we wanted this to be all encompassing of our whole district, and we called it Portrait of a Learner. Now, what I put here for you to see is 3 years ago, when we redesigned our middle schools, we said the same thing. Unbeknownst to us, there was this company called Battelle for Kids that did the Portrait of a Graduate work. So when the middle schools were being rebuilt and redesigned, we as an organization said, we need to look at our middle schools and ensure that we're offering everything we need to offer for our middle school students. So we developed our own middle school learner profile 3 years ago. In that middle school learner profile, we brought kids together, we brought community together, companies together, and said, what do we expect of our middle school students as they move from 6th grade through 8th grade? And here's what our community, here's what our students said. We believe all middle school students should be solution seekers. That original word was problem solvers, and our middle school students said to us, problem solver sounds negative. We really want to work hard to seek solutions in everything we do, not just school, but in our life. We want to be global thinkers. We want to be resilient learners, and we want to be kind, empathetic friends. And so that for the last 3 years, our middle school students talk about that when they come in as 6th graders. We actually developed a class, a 6th grade class called Global Thinkers. So our middle school learner profile is talked about. It's not just a pretty picture that hangs on the wall. It's implemented in the classroom, in English class, in math class, and it's talked about throughout middle school. So I wanted to give you some background because we did this 3 years ago, not knowing we would be doing it again for the entire district, pre-K-12. We hope some of those words will come out when we're done with this process. But as we engage with Battelle for Kids and Portrait of a Learner, one of the most important things to us was that our design team was well balanced and well represented. So this is really hard for you to see from that there, but communities of faith, we wanted to be a part of the design team, business and community leaders, higher education, social service agencies, policymakers, students, educators, staff, families, school board, and district leaders, and school personnel. So that's a lot of people to be a part of this design team, to sit in one room together and say, what do we expect of our students when they graduate from Worthington schools? What does that look like? And so we sent out 500, just a little over 500 invitations. We have met 2 times at Worthington Kilbourne High School, and we have about 200 students that are 200 community members, 200 stakeholder teams, members that have come to that meeting. And so we're at Worthington Kilbourne High School in the cafeteria, where 200 people are coming together of all different areas of that design team to answer the following questions. What are our hopes, dreams, and aspirations that our community has for its students today? So what do we hope for of our students today? What are the skills and mindsets that our children need for success in this rapidly changing, complex world? That's where the index card and the pencil comes in, because while you might not be a part of the stakeholder team, it's really important for me to leave this meeting today and take back what you think. I have a captive audience, and I'd like to know what you think our students need today to be successful in this rapidly changing, complex world. What are the skills and mindsets that they need to be successful? And then what are the implications for the design of the learning experiences and the equitable access to those experiences that we provide in our school system? What should our students possess? So, Portrait of a Learner, we hope when we're done with this, we've met twice. It's a series of 4 design team meetings. We've met twice. We hope that this will then guide and be our North Star for our system's mission and vision in Worthington Schools. And for those of you that don't know, our mission in Worthington Schools is to empower a community of learners who will change the world. We want to empower students to have a voice. We want our students to feel seen, heard, and valued. And we want them to be a part of something bigger than themselves and know that eventually someday, and probably already are, they're changing the world. We have 4 vision statements in Worthington Schools as well, and we hope then that our Portrait of a Learner will align with those vision statements and will align with our mission and vision in Worthington Schools. So I'm talking a lot about Portrait of a Learner, and I want you to see a few, and I'm sorry this is really hard. I should have made some copies for your tables. Columbus School District has already worked through this process, and they have developed a Portrait of a Learner for their district, Hilliard and Westerville. So we've got 3 different examples. It will be a visual that looks something like this. We will get to design what that visual looks like. Our students will have a voice in that. Our community will have a voice in that. And we will come up with 3, 4, 7 words that we hope all students possess. And then the real work happens. What does that look like in the classroom? Because they can be words on a wall, it can be a pretty poster on a wall, but how do we make that poster come to life to ensure that we are, in fact, in the classroom and in the hallways, at athletic events, expecting our students to be adaptable, to have good communication skills, to be creative, to understand and be able to utilize technology, to be global thinkers, to be critical thinkers. That's Columbus Public. Hilliard talked about critical thinkers, empathetic citizens, to be purposeful in their communication, to be resilient learners, and to be self-advocates. Do they advocate for themselves? And then we have the Westerville Portrait of a Learner. So after 2 more meetings, we meet again this month and again in November. We hope by the first of the year, and we're thinking maybe this will be unveiled at our State of the Schools in March. But our hope is to be able to create something like this and then be able to implement that in our classrooms. These are just some pictures. We were again in the commons area at Worthington Kilbourne High School. You can see, we're set up in table groups. We have a facilitator from Battelle for Kids that is taking us through this process. Lots of really good communication. And I've said this before to the people that I get to work with. The outcome is going to be great, but the process of engaging with our community and having kids, our students sit at tables with community members. Tom Rice is a part of that. Tom's in the room today. He's a part of our design team. It is just, that's what gives me the fire in my belly. It makes me feel really good about the work that we do in Worthington schools, because the voice of our community matters to us. Again, this is inside Worthington Kilbourne High School. You can see we're sitting at tables. We get feedback at the end of every meeting, and we got a lot of feedback that these aren't the most comfortable tables to sit on, so they're comfortable for high school students, but they weren't so comfortable for everyone else. But just the involvement, sending out 500 invites, asking people to bring a friend, trying to find time in your schedule. You know how busy you are. Trying to find time for people to commit to that was just outstanding for us. Again, just a few more pictures. One of our board members, Nikki Hudson, there in the picture, parents, staff members, teachers. And then Portrait of a Learner, this is just a flyer that we sent out to our community members. We do have a website, so if you go to Worthington Schools website under academics, there's a website about Portrait of a Learner, places to give feedback. My email address is on there, so if you think of something later and want to email me, that's always welcome. I do have a recap. Are we able to play video?
Good try.
I do have a recap of the first meeting. This will give you an idea. These are members of our stakeholder team who were interviewed after our first meeting, and they can just kind of help you understand what they thought after they met.
It was great to look out at a room of teachers and parents and students. Think about the fact that we're all putting contributions in to look at what the future might look like for our student.
We're in the process of this master facility planning. This process is designed for us to say, what do we want to be happening in those physical spaces?
Just collaborating with one another and having a safe space to fail and make mistakes.
So when I'm here and I'm looking at all the different things that's going to help advance my children.
From the youngest learners to our graduates, we want all students to have an educational experience that prepares them to be lifelong learners.
How is this going to help my son, who's in special ed, be an adult?
Also embracing the new aspects of the 21st century.
I think it's really important that we try to stay ahead of that since the world is changing so quickly.
And then I have my daughter who's really smart but sensitive. How is she going to learn how to be in a community?
We work and live in a community where people care deeply about their public schools.
So once we've created the Portrait of a Learner, the exciting work of implementing that new vision in our classrooms, in our hallways, in our community will come to life.
For me, it's all about community.
We ask students to be able to use technology, and here I am, assistant superintendent. I'm not sure how to use the technology.
Yeah, but it's an old computer.
That's right, that's right. So take just a minute, I hope we have time for this, but take just a minute at your tables and talk about what you expect or what you think a student should have and be able to do, what skills and mindsets they should have when they graduate from high school. Take just a couple minutes and then write some things down, and then I want to hear from you.
What's defined most to me was really important that college or work or what did you choose that you don't want to do. And my Did you find one? I don't know. All I know is that I didn't even take this so long ago. We did went to college. That. If I had never had it, five. As women. It's, yeah, it doesn't have to be all that. Yeah.
Fly in the middle of the room. The second
Those personal things like skills. You know how to go to the grocery store and make a list, you know how to pay for it, and that you should pay your credit card bill every month.
With more.
I really good conversation.
Understand what it is. I mean, my.
Thanks for the.
Yeah, I've got it.
Or force them to find it.
Service.
You can't do it.
Do your program. I did some.
The stores.
All right, let's come back together. We have a battery issue in our microphone, so I don't mean to yell at you, certainly, but I'm gonna speak up a little bit. The high school coach in me doesn't have a problem with that, so. Lots of great conversation. I heard at one of the tables, you know, our kids today, are different. True. Our kids today are also growing up in a time period that looks a lot different. Like what we have today, our kids are experiencing. I've often said to our team, if I could bring back my grandma and grandpa, right? There's a lot of things I would want to talk to them about, but I laugh and I say, oh, I can't imagine what my grandpa would do if I handed him a cell phone. And I said, Grandpa, you can talk on this wherever you want. You don't have to stand next to the wall with the cord. Like you can go wherever you want. You can talk to somebody while you're driving. He would be like, no, Angie, I can't do that, right? So when I think about our kids today, I think our kids today are pretty special. They really are. They have a lot of things to deal with, technology being one of them, that they're trying to navigate and maneuver. And so what are we doing for them to help them? Because it is very different than what it was like when I was growing up. And I like to think that I'm not old, right? I know I am, but I'd like to think that I'm not. But even, you know, in my time, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have cell phones growing up. I typed on a regular typewriter. I'll never forget the first computer that was green and black. Right, the screen was green and black. So times have changed for sure. So based on your experiences, just kind of call out, what are some things that you would hope for of our students today? Yeah.
Well, based on your comments, It's the rate of change.
Yes.
That is the differentiation. And so, the students, coming out today, I would judge, would need to be able to cope with that. That just because this solution was good yesterday, doesn't mean that it's the only solution that's good today.
Thank you. Yep. Appreciate that. Well said.
I hear that loneliness and lack of connection eye to eye is messing up the process. So you can have all this curricula, but if a guy is disconnected to the cell phone, you interrupt the,
Yeah, that's one of the things that came up a lot in our first and second was communication, the ability for our students to have face-to-face conversations and be comfortable with that, as they communicate with one another. Yep.
I've been graduating with a good self-esteem, feeling good about yourself.
Good.
Is a very, very important part.
Thank you. I agree.
Self-respect. Right.
Yep. Self-respect, I heard.
Yeah, yeah. Can I play my card now?
Sure.
Well, we talked about, and I believe this is in the category of mindset and value system. And the school system, I recognize, can't do it alone, but it needs to certainly have it in mind to supplement or help. And that's to have students always have a high sense of personal responsibility, whether it be to pick up cigarette butts or scooters or whatever. And you talked about talking to your grandparents. Some of us could be your grandparents. Anyway, that sort of thing. And the other one is having ambitious purposes. And I believe that some of your students, a lot of your students probably do. But I also know that there are others who don't, and how to help them have a high, ambitious purposes. If I might also make a comment, I happen to, by the virtue of being old and retired, have moved into a community in Dublin. And so I haven't been here in the Worthington community for a couple of years. The Dublin school system is doing what I think is a wonderful job of publishing a quarterly pamphlet that is highlighting some of the things that they are doing. And they're really catching my attention and support by highlighting the things they're doing. And if that's not going on in Worthington, I suggest to you that there's a messaging opportunity there.
Yeah.
We do it too, Alan.
Yeah.
You just missed it. I think you
I
moved
moved out when you started.
right around the time it got started.
Worthington's better.
Mine, I have two that, I went to a rural school, so, but I feel that students coming out of high school should have public speaking skills. Cause that would serve them the rest of their lives, as well as interviewing skills.
Okay.
And coming from a rural school, not everyone goes to college, so they have to be ready to go to the workforce. So I mean, I think those are two things that.
Thank you.
Can be
That's good. And you wrote that down.
I did.
Good. Okay, just a couple more. I don't want to keep. Yeah.
I believe that one of the basics that a school system should do is teach students more about emotional intelligence and how to apply it in their daily life.
What was it?
Emotional intelligence. Yep.
I have one, and I'm not sure it applies to all students.
Okay.
The shorthand version of this, strive for deep learning. And this definitely would apply to kids who get on the AP track and so forth. But I think of this because there was wish I could remember the author and the title of this biography, but it's a biography of 6 recognized world leaders, Angela Merkel, Margaret Thatcher, and so forth. They found that they all came from no more than middle class backgrounds. He had an educational experience that featured, intensive reading of big books. And that's a deep learning. Henry Kissinger Henry Kissinger might have been a co-author of this book, but these are the things they had in common. And I was a university professor, and I dealt
was bothered by conscience, but I dealt with honors students and so forth. And it's just sort of, I found it remarkable year after year to interview prospective students for these programs. They were cocksure that they knew it all. And a little bit of humility that comes with deep learning would have served them very well. So that's, I worry sometimes that we're short selling our top students.
Well, thank you very much for your feedback. I do want to take the cards. If you just put it, if you're willing to share your card with me, just put it in the middle of the table there and I can get it when we're done with our meeting. Because Jennifer serves on our Portrait of a Learner design team, and Tom, my guess is that when we're done with it, maybe it can be shared with Rotary, and you can kind of see where we land with all of this. But thank you very much. I appreciate your time and
before we wrap up, we have a raffle and I'm looking for, there he is. Probably Dusty.
Linda, well done. Let's see. I know he's happy. You do not mind the second one.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll let you pick.
Oh, right.
One.
Yeah, hold on. I know, I'm trying to don't think you're on. Okay. Am I reading it?
Yeah, one of us can.
Okay.
I have my glasses on.
Okay, good, all right.
Last four, you know, when it's $28 in the weekly. 2, 3, 7, 9. Last three.
I got it.
You have to win.
Yeah, this is. Yeah.
And in the basic space, it's 223. That's it. John, would you like to pull this in?
Yes.
There we go. I'm trying to pull the same one. 2, 3, 9, 0. Got it.
All the family knows part.
Part coming on.
Yeah.
Before I draw the card, I want you all to know something. For many years, many of you know this, I've been a volunteer assistant basketball coach at Worthington Kilbourne. And for the number of years that she was the principal there, Angie was always there. I think that's very important that
For sure.
our principals, our administrators are present for kids to see them and hear them. And I never wondered if Angie was at a game, she was always there. Wrong card.
2 of hearts. Well done. Okay, before we leave, please stand and join me in saying the 4-way test. Of the things we think, see, and do.
Is it the truth?
Fair, who are-
You got that like third.
I gotta get right. Can you see them first?
Beneficial to all concerned.
All together now. All together now. Well done. We'll try this again next week. Got
Realtor here in town, always been, it's Eric Farley's writing. I don't know over here when I introduced you. And I didn't. They, I mean, they, I think, I think the question, right? You know, they would. Yeah.
Oh, we don't do that. You don't have to do that. That's there. But I won't.
Yeah, it actually slides into the bottom of this thing. This little hole right here. Other way. Yeah. The whole thing. Free slip, right? Yeah. It's a pointer. Yeah.
Put the cards in. It's probably the most important thing to do. That's the only thing I'm really concerned about. We have the cards, that's fine. So. Right. If she missed one of our games, it's because she was at a girls' game. Because they play at the same time. Oh, is it really? Yeah. The boys are away, the girls are at home. Oh, is that how they do it? And they're playing the same team too. Let's throw them in there. There you go. We're good. Where's the extension cord and this stuff? We have to get all, yeah, we have to get all the badges in because the badges, go on the bottom.